Guys, Roland here, and we have an amazing conversation for you today. We will be talking about why it is important to have a guru.
Yeah.
Maybe you've thought about finding one, connecting with one, or maybe you've even thought about the fact that you may not need one. And with me is an amazing guest who's going to tell us a lot more about this information right after this. Welcome to Conversations with Roland, where the goal of this show is to learn life secrets through diverse experiences. I am your host, Roland Achenjang. Guys, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Roland. As always, I am super excited to record these conversations, and today is no different. Today, I have an amazing guest. She's passionate about sharing her spiritual perspectives, which are based on her personal experiences. She also mentors spiritual seekers so as to help them heal at all levels of their life, including holistically and especially learning to navigate life's challenges more peacefully and joyfully. She is a disciple of Swami MohanDas Ji Maharaj. In effect, she had a guru, and today we will be learning from her why it is important to have a guru or maybe not. And with that, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome my sweet friend Ritu LeBouef to Conversations with Roland. Ritu, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much, Roland. It's my pleasure to be in conversation with you. I am doing great. And how about you?
No, I am well. Thank you. It's been some exciting weeks lately in my house, and you know why. But everything is kosher, as I would say, and I'm really excited to have you here. You're a fascinating person, and I think this topic is right up your alley. I mean, there's so much we're gonna learn in talking to you about this. So, yeah, thank you for coming.
And I'm as excited to talk about this with you because of what you shared with me. You're the perfect person who I believe can completely understand and project to the audience exactly how the union of guru, yoga, meditation, how all of that plays a part in our finding our inner truth. So, perfect.
Thank you. No pressure on my part. I'm not feeling any pressure with those labels that you have bestowed upon me. But you're right. I mean, it's a fascinating conversation. And even though I'm going to do my best to relay and kind of be a bridge between the information you share and my audience members, I'll be honest, a lot of this stuff is going to be lessons for me too. So many of these questions I'm asking also from my perspective. And I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
Definitely. And we are all each other's teachers. So I'm learning as much from you. But definitely, having been born and raised in India, I have a inside perspective of guru. So I am thrilled to be sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I am super happy to learn.
Yeah.
So, Ritu, I gave this kind of nice little short introduction about who you are, which I always laugh because it really never does any of my guests justice to say your entire life has been shortened to this, 30 to 1 minute introduction would be doing you a huge disservice. And so, my audience members, many of them don't know who you are, but I would like to just start by having you tell us how you've been lately, because I know you're in Texas and you had to deal with kind of like the huge power grid issues that affected the state. And I was just going to ask how things have been since the recovery and even a little bit during the time, how it was for you.
Yeah, it has, it was quite sudden. We in Texas have never experienced such historic low temperature, so that was quite an adjustment. But I've lived up north quite a bit. It was a great reminder to me why I left up north, and
I love it.
now I remember. But as a rule, I don't watch the news, so it was good that I did not know the extent, which I found out later on, to the extent Texans are still suffering. My sympathies, heartfelt sympathies, go to them. We personally here in Dallas had power outage for 2.5 days. We didn't have internet for 1 day. We didn't even have mobile data, so we were completely cut off. And it was quite a creative challenge to figure out quickly how to manage to stay warm enough so we can be ready for when if the power outage is more than 2 weeks, as people were saying it would be. But we're very lucky. I always look at the positive side. So there were a lot of positives that came out of it. It was kind of a pause and reset on our lives, and no electronics. So that was really good reset. We're all good now.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're good. I mean, like you said, many people did go through some very tough times. And of all my friends and family members down who were in Texas, everyone I spoke to kind of came out on the good side of that. But no, I'm glad. I know we had meetings that were supposed to take place during the height of it, and we had to kind of cancel, and you weren't able to attend because of it. So yeah, it definitely affected you primarily, and then a lot of other people kind of secondary and tertiary down the road. But I'm glad you're here. So we know you're a survivor because you survived this, right? Even though you had all of 2020 to kind of reset, 2021 came and said, okay, you're not done, you're going to keep resetting. But this topic we are speaking on today, specifically to do with guru and the need to have one, or even understanding what that relationship is like with somebody you might consider to be your guru while on a spiritual path, I think is super fascinating. And it's one that many people have questions about. And you're a perfect candidate to kind of tell us this. So you can tell us a little bit about growing up. You grew up in India, that I know. And if you don't mind just giving us kind of an idea of what that was like for you.
So again, trying to encompass that, let's see, spirituality. So India is about spirituality. It's in the air. You cannot escape it. It's not something that you just listen to now and then. Everybody speaks about God. Everybody believes that we are on a karmic path, that we are reincarnating. You hear it in conversations, you hear it in the songs that are playing on the radio all day long. So it is something that you imbibe, that we are here, travelers on our journey, lifetime after lifetime, until we get salvation, until we transcend this reincarnational cycle. And therefore, people have immense reverence for any sages, any monks, anybody who is on the spiritual seeking path. And it's openly, even if you see someone walking on the street who looks like someone who is on a spiritual path, people will stop and bow down to them. So that's just that reverence in the air. knowing that somebody who is on the spiritual path is not just for himself, but he or she is here to uplift the entire humanity, that they have the power. They are getting closer to God, and they have the powers to bless people and to take away their karmas and uplift everyone.
Okay.
So there's great reverence. And that's the atmosphere I grew up in, although it individually within families, it depends who follows it more, who doesn't, who is more on the ritualistic side, where people going to temples, and so everything is revered. So we've given a god, a deity, a form to everything. In just like you hear of Native Americans, that they have nature is God, right? Tree, stones, sky, sun. So there is a deity for everything, and so you revere that. So it just depends if person prefers to be more ritualistic, go to the temple and worship a particular deity, or that they choose more of a path of meditation. And in my house, in my immediate reality, it was more of, I would say, more of ritualistic, but not very religious. So I had neither, not too much spiritual, not too much religious. It was kind of following the mundane.
Okay. So I was going to actually ask you a question related to that, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. The question I was going to ask had to do with the idea of having gurus in a sense. Is it then tied more to folks who are religious within the culture that you were raised, or is it tied more towards to those who would consider themselves spiritual?
So there is a wide population who will not necessarily go to guru. So first we have to understand what guru means.
Yeah.
Right? So guru is actually made up of two words, gu and ru. Gu means the person who removes so guru means the person who has the ability to remove your ignorance, to remove your darkness, the remover of darkness. That's what guru means.
Okay.
So we will also call them Satguru. Sat means the truth, the one who removes your darkness and takes you to the eternal truth. So that is the true meaning of it. It's become diluted to mean a teacher or of any level.
Yeah.
In Western world, as
Yeah.
Internet guru and all that.
Well, okay. You bring up a good point there as far as the meaning of guru. One who removes your darkness, in a sense. Now, that raises a question in my mind: are they removing your darkness, or are they revealing it to you so that you can learn to integrate it or work with it?
They are assisting you in removing your darkness. They are guiding you in person and remotely. So it's almost like they have your remote control. So guru will be of different levels, just like teachers are of different levels. And the one that I am talking about, for example, my guru is a person who looks like he is in human body, but he is God incarnate. He has his identity. He is in no mind state 24/7. And his mind, his senses, our bodily senses will function at his or her will. They are in 100% in his control. and his identity has completely dissolved into the source. So
Okay. You're
he's
getting
one
really
with the
deep.
existence.
Yeah. You're getting really deep here, Ritu. I'll just stop and then peel back just a little bit and ask more about the definition of the guru, just to kind of get a base there. If you say one who removes your darkness, someone is going to be thinking, and I am thinking too, what do you mean by darkness, or one who removes that? What is the darkness you are referring to?
Darkness is the ignorance that you are body and mind, that this material world is reality. So that ignorance that you don't remember that you are the eternal truth, you are one with the source, you are the source, and that's the darkness.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. I think that's great, because someone might be thinking of it as the darkness of what they would associate with negativity or evil per se. And this darkness you're talking about is the realization or the remembering that indeed our reality isn't really a reality as we perceive it to be.
Right.
Okay, so great. And then you talked about your guru, MohanDas Ji Maharaj. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And you were mentioning what he was like here on planet Earth. And you said he was incarnate in a body, but he was basically the creator incarnate, and his whole mind, body, and I would imagine spirit were, like you said, in sync. Is that accurate?
I would want you to clarify what you mean by mind, body, and spirit in sync.
Sure. So that would mean that he was fully aware of his mind and his body, as well as his spirit being one and the same thing. Like we all have mind, body, spirit complexes when we're here on earth. Most people associate, or I would associate, the spirit with the soul. The mind is what we use to think, and our bodies is how we are able to, I guess, experience life in this physical form, to walk and feel and handle the senses, our physical body. And when in talking to you many times, when I hear how you describe the presence of your guru, that's what comes to mind. It's this oneness with everything, in that his mind isn't thinking I want to do this, and then his body feeling like I don't, and then his spirit feeling like I don't want to do either one of what your mind and body are trying to do. Is that a fair assessment of how you describe the presence and being of your guru?
Yes, you described it very well. Exactly. Like there is no sense, you do not sense any uneasiness, you do not sense any conflict, you do not ever see like, oh, okay, I think this should be done, I think that should be done. There is absolutely no mind. It's just like existence moving, it's just in movement. And every gesture, every word has multiple layers of meaning in it, and everything is synchronized. So it you just feel that bliss pouring out of him in his presence, the silence and that kind of nothingness and everything right there. So
and this would be feelings or experiences you would have just being around him, whether or not you guys are talking. You even mentioned in silence you would feel this sense of bliss. Is it oozing from him? Is it just his aura? Is that how you describe it?
Yes. So actually, when you are in the presence of such a guru, a completely self-realized enlightened master, you what you are receiving is in silence. So it's just an exchange of energy, and that's where you are getting what you are supposed to get. So you are supposed to approach them and be in their presence, to drop your own mind, and then you've become fully open to receiving everything that they want to pour into you. And and that's a practice, going in their presence with having had dropped your mind. So if you go,
Oh, really?
yes. And he would say that again and again. When you walk through this door, put your mind outside. Leave it outside the door. But that is our practice, right? While we are walking this earth. And that's...
Yeah. So it makes me think, if you can, as would you call yourself a devotee or a student of a guru? How would you label yourself?
A disciple. So are, me personally, a disciple.
Okay.
But you can be a student, you can be a devotee. That's for the guru to decide which category you are in, because you can call yourself whatever you want.
A guru in the making.
He'll straighten you out in a split second.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I'll walk in and say, I'm a guru in the making. Like, there you go. So, but I want to ask you this. If you can then, as a disciple, leave your mind at the door when you're walking in to spend time with your guru, can you train yourself to then do that even when you aren't walking in to spend time with your guru?
That is the training. That is, in fact, the training. So he says, leave your mind and let me, because that's what existence is, right? It's pouring out, it's giving. It's yearning to give. It's yearning for you to put your mind aside so you can receive. So it's like, come as an empty vessel. Now, if you come as a full vessel, what can I add to you? So come without your preconceived notions, with your judgments, with all your attributes of, all those that we say, the lust, greed, anger, all of that. Put that aside. Come as an empty vessel and get filled up. And just like we hear the NDEers, right? They go out of body and they meet the source, and they feel they are so light. They feel they are bliss themselves. And so that's how you feel in his presence. But when you walk out, there comes the mind. But that's the training. So the more you go and get filled up, the more you can bring back when you are away with him. And that's the practice.
Okay. Now, Ritu, thank you for that explanation. What I want to ask next has to do with meeting and choosing a guru. And, I hear your story, and I'm so happy and so, happy for you in particular that you were able to find your guru in MohanDas Ji Maharaj. Can you tell us what that process was like to finding a guru, and also what somebody might do if they're in search of one?
So are you asking about me personally and then in general?
Yes. So, yeah, because I know your story about how you ended up meeting and working with your guru. But I was just hoping, you would share that and then kind of tell, based off of your experience, what some other person might do if they weren't given the same opportunities like you were in your case.
So for me, as I had no idea what a guru means, and I wasn't seeking a guru, but I always had spiritual seeking. Very intense spiritual seeking. And during that process, just like my parents would be they were very keen on going and meeting any saint they would hear about, and they would go get their blessings, which is quite common in Indian culture. So my parents did the same. And so similarly, Swami MohanDas Ji Maharaj, this is the same way. They heard of him and they went to seek his blessings, and they asked him to visit our house, which is also part of the culture. You want to ask the saint to come bless your house, visit your house. So he did, and I thought he is just like any other saint. I bowed to him, and for me, that was it. I did not feel anything, I didn't think anything, and I had no idea that he is a guru. And another time, a few months later, I happened to go to his ashram, and that's where I saw 3 miracles. Not that I was impressed by them so much, but that is where I felt this pure love. I felt just something very different. It wasn't intense, but I felt there was just that pure love coming out from him. And so I was a very timid person, but I felt encouraged enough to ask him a question. And my first question was, is there actual physical heaven and hell? And he paused, he looked at me for a split second, and he said, no, there isn't any physical heaven or hell. It's all in the state of mind. And then I don't remember what next question I asked, and he said, all the answers are within you. You go experience them for yourself. Later on, I learned this is not what he says to other people, but that's also where I learned that everybody gets a custom medicine, and that was my medicine. I am not to be given any answers, a cookie cutter answers. I have to seek them out, and that was my journey. And part of that journey, then I had that I am the existence, and existence is love. God is love. I had that experience that I have shared on NDE radio also. And that is right after that, when I went in his presence. I visited India, and I went in his presence, and I experienced the same thing again. I was there for about 3 hours, and tears did not stop rolling down from my eyes. I mean, part of that time, I was just bawling. My eyes were red. I could not understand how I could have missed that before, but that was my proof and my realization. He is that, and that he is that Sadguru. He is the source incarnate himself. And ever since then, every time I was in his presence, I had that same experience.
Wow.
So that was for me.
Yeah. And just to kind of piecemeal a little bit here, your I am story, it's very fascinating, and I would actually invite anybody and everybody who's listening to go and watch your YouTube video where you share that experience. I promise I'll provide links to it in the notes section of this podcast somewhere. And actually, I would like to invite you back to another conversation where we focus on that spiritual transformative experience that you had, and then the many other ones that you've had, because you've had so many of those throughout your life, and you and I have talked, and I've gotten to know you, and been very blessed to have heard some of those experiences that you've shared. But
Likewise.
Yeah, absolutely. But in this story, the first time you met him was when it sounds like you were a child, essentially, like you were still a little girl.
I was 21.
Oh, okay. So you see, that's new to me now too. Awesome.
Okay.
And the first time you met this person, you didn't feel any sort of anything special. But then it was some other time later where in his presence you had what you're calling the 3 miracles, essentially. one of them was the feelings of unconditional love. It's what I kind of label that kind of feeling. The second was asking questions. Do you remember what the third was?
Well, so these were questions and feelings that I actually saw. Do we have time? Can I share them quickly?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the very first one was that the ashram that we visited with my family, so it was the 5 of us in the car. We stepped out. At that time, his ashram was brand new, being built. So it was long, there was a gate and a long unpaved road. And then there was just a couple of rooms, a little kitchen and a little gathering room for spiritual gathering. That room was built way out. It's in the very vast, like acres and acres of land. It was being built, but there was a long unpaved road, like stony road, that you had to walk to get to the room. So when so my Guruji at that time, and it was peak of summer, hot summer, and what he would just wear like a sleeveless long gown, just white cotton long sleeveless gown. And when we stepped out from the gate is closed, we stepped out and we saw Maharaj Ji, some people call him Baba Ji as a mark of respect, Maharaj Ji, walking towards us all alone. And that whole long pathway, rocky road, unpaved pathway. And my mother exclaimed, like, oh my gosh, look at that. He's such a, what humility, the saint. Who does that? It's like if you go to meet President of United States and he's coming outside to receive you. So we remarked about that. He opened the gate and he blessed us. And then he walked with us all the way to the outside of the door of the room. And then he said, okay, you go sit down and I will be right back. So we went inside and 2-3 minutes went by and my mother started talking to the lady who was sitting there, and she remarked like, oh, look at the humility of this saint. He came all the way. We are just, mere ordinary people, and he came outside all the way to bless us and bring us in here. And the lady looked at my mother and said, what are you talking about? Just as soon as you entered the room, he walked out of the room. He was sitting here the entire time. And
okay, so I've heard example stories like this, and even read an example one in the autobiography of a yogi.
So that was one. Of course, later on we found that he's at multiple places simultaneously across the globe. But that was our first little surprising introduction. And the second was, then we started doing kirtan, like in the open round area. There was outside like a courtyard area. So kirtan is like devotional singing. And there was a whole lot of people, maybe 100 or so. We started singing. And then suddenly I look up and I see that there is dark clouds. And it's like, okay, it's gonna start raining, but here is all these musical instruments and the singing's going on. So I sat way in the back. It's like, I don't want to get wet. So I am eyeing my target area. I'm gonna rush into the room. I don't wanna be part of the crowd. As soon as the rain starts, everybody will get up and start scrambling to run inside the room. So I'll be the first one. I'll be prepared. So my attention is less on the kirtan singing. My attention is, how do I escape the rain? And then it started pouring rain. It was torrential rain, and the entire square where we were sitting, there's no cover on top. It's open sky, not a drop of water.
Don't say, are you serious?
100%, yes. So, third one.
Sorry.
And So after all of that is over, we are headed out. So you've heard of the word prasad. Prasad is like in Catholic Church also you get that sacred offering at the end, the wine and the, what is that? Yes. So prasad is like consecrated offering. It's blessed offering that Guru gives to you. And so he's way out there by the kitchen, and I am way out here by the room. Everybody has left towards the car, and I am ready to leave. And so I hear coming towards me, Maharaji, he is calling out to me and saying, Ritu, stop, take prasad. And I'm saying, okay, so I stopped. But then I'm looking, because he's walking, there's nothing in his hands. So normally it's some food item. It's some sort of sweet or some dry fruit. Usually that's what they will, or some fruit, they will, something that you eat that they will give to you. Well, I don't see anything in his hands. There's nobody else around. But so I was a bit confused. I thought maybe somebody will be coming from the kitchen side with something, so then he will pick that up, bless it, and give it to me. Now, I don't see anything. He comes to me all the way, and then he says, well, take prasad. And I'm thoroughly confused. Well, where is the prasad? I don't see anything. So he looks at me and says, well, extend your hands. So our normal way of, we fold our hands, like we cup our hands, like when sometimes you drink water from the fountain, like that, you cup your hands. So he says, extend your hands for the prasad. I was very confused, but I did that. I cupped my hands. He just lifted up his hand and he opened it on top of my palms, and I had overflow of all kinds of dry fruits in
physical.
my hand. Physical, that I could eat.
And you ate them?
Of course, yeah. Well, these are like nothing. This is nothing.
Wait a minute. You can't say this is nothing, Ritu. Are you kidding me?
No, this is nothing.
So was this all on the same day?
That was all on the same day, yes. And
so what, I'm sorry, I got so many questions. Like, what time of the day did you guys go there that the rain's falling? He's meeting you at the gate. Was this nighttime or early afternoon?
Daytime, yeah, early afternoon.
And how long were you guys there for?
I don't remember, but hours, because there was the kirtan, the singing, and then we sat a little bit, then we ate. You could not go to his ashram without eating, so without being fed, so you had to eat.
Okay, pardon my ignorance here, okay? But with these stories, which is so fascinating, one of the questions I asked was, how do you find a guru? So are you like going around looking for somebody who has these quote unquote unusual characteristics?
No. So first, the one they say is, you can never find a guru finds you. But still there are some. So I have heard thousands of different stories from people how they connected with a guru. So one of the ways is just like this. It's a happen chance, like Guru selected me, right? We heard of him and we invited him. Now he could have rejected our plea to visit our house, which he has done to thousands of people, so he selects you. And number two is that he may even come to you directly, and you may be completely oblivious and not even seeking a guru, but he will remind you, because here comes the reincarnation. There is a past connection, and he knows who is ready and who is in body in this lifetime that he can reach out to. Now everybody is a potential. He knows who is ready to what extent. He knows you inside out. He knows your soul. He knows your entire soul journey. So he knows to reach out to you and hopefully awaken you. And so there is the combination of your faith, your level of seeking, and his eagerness to help awaken you.
Okay.
So he knows your potential. Now, if that doesn't happen, many times people will then, you just start looking. If your seeking is intense, whoever you feel connected to from your heart, you can go to visit different ones, sometimes you just look at somebody's picture and you say, this is it. Just like when you select your spouse, right? Sometimes you just see a picture and you say, this is the one. Sometimes you have to meet them, right? Just like that. And if you can't find it either way, then you look at not how many followers somebody has, but really, if you, let's say you trust me, if you have enough trust in me, then you might be willing to go check him out or her out. So I'm saying him, but it could be he or she.
Oh, man. So that was another one of my question is, in the culture that you were raised, are gurus primarily women, or do you have women? I mean, are gurus primarily men, or do you have women who serve
Both.
this roles as well?
Both. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
because remember in Sanatan Dharma, it's popularly known as Hinduism, but it's actually the true name of it is Sanatan Dharma, which means the eternal truth, the seeking of the eternal truth. That's Sanatan Dharma, way of life. And so within that, there is a full reverence of worship of the goddess principle and the God principle. So the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine. So it's the combination of that is fully revered. So when it comes to deities or gurus, they both hold equal reverence.
Okay. No, thank you for that. So Ritu, just a random question. When you meet somebody, can you ever meet somebody and feel this person is supposed to be my guru, and they unfortunately say, no, I'm not your guru, no, I'm not your guru, or you're not ready for this sort of relationship?
Yes, I have seen that. In fact, you said autobiography of a yogi. So you mentioned Paramahansa Yogananda. You're familiar with that. Do you remember in his book, he said the same thing. He was seeking and he went to Lahari Mahashya, I believe, and he said, I am not your guru. And that's the one. So and he pointed him, you will find your guru. So ultimately, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji ended up being his guru. So sometimes they will say outright no, and sometimes they'll point you to one. You go to that one. He or she is your guru. Or sometimes they will say, well, I'm not the one. Just go about seeking.
Yeah. You know, we can piggyback off of, Paramahansa's experience with his guru and how much work he did for him living in his ashram and all of that. Yours did not seem to be the same type of relationship.
No, and in Sanatan Dharma, it is said that each person is unique because you're a different combination. We know, right? Our DNA, each person has unique DNA. So we are all unique and our paths are unique. So everybody is allowed to have their own set of natural tendencies from past lives that they have inculcated, good or bad, to be there as their model or their framework through which they can find their own unique path towards enlightenment. And so an enlightened master like my guru knows exactly who can follow which path. So each person gets a customized remedy or medicine or treatment. So you're not cut out to be in that mode. They look at you. What are you capable of? And how you can serve best your own path and bring forth Guru's message. How can you? And some are not. Some are meant to just be seek enlightenment and just be somewhere in a corner cooking bread for people in a restaurant. It doesn't matter, or be running a retail store. So everybody's life purpose and life plan that way is part of it is predetermined. So according to that, Guru will mold you. So he is going by your nature, your characteristics, your tendencies, and guiding you accordingly.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question I had about the Guru or your relationship with the Guru has to do with whether or not, with your whole family visiting him, if all of them were then selected as disciples for, your Guru, or were you the only one?
So everybody has the same potential. So when we say selected as disciple, so it's two-way. It's a two-way thing, right? So how far does the disciple want to go? One thing is initiation, Diksha, if you've heard of that.
No.
So, okay. So initiation is important. Guru will give you a Guru mantra. You've heard of the word mantra, the chant. So it could be the same words, string of words for you and me and the third person and fourth person, but it'll have an infused energy that is specific. It's like customized medicine. It'll have the energy that is meant specifically for you, and it'll be whispered to you. So you are not to share that with anybody else. So, because it has certain powers within it. And it's kind of like a direct cell phone connection and with your unique number connection. So that's initiation. And each guru has their own. Now, no guru is completely alike. So we cannot expect that from every guru. They all function differently, but there are certain common characteristics within the gurus that I have heard of, that I have come across, and this is how my guru did it. And so each one of us in our family were given the initiation. Now,
Okay.
how far you take it is then up to you.
Okay. No, that's a good answer. Another thing is, you mentioned with your guru in particular that he was basically the creator incarnate. So for many people who have had I would say a spiritually transformative experience would say we're all the creator incarnate. I would say you, Ritu, are the creator incarnate, so am I. And I could even go as far as saying a rock is the creator incarnate. And so what makes a guru different from you or I, in a sense, and how do they get that status or label?
So two-part question. What makes them different is the enlightened being, just like Buddha. And when I say I think of Buddha, I think of Jesus. They are embodiment. They are not thinking part of the time. that, oh, I need to meditate, and then I will be in a more I am zone, and I am that zone, and then when I'm not, I sort of get disconnected with that higher part of me, and I kind of get sucked into the day-to-day happenings, circumstances of life. It's not like that. It is just like you would imagine the source would be, but with the hologram of a body. It's just existence, walking, talking, sleeping, existing.
24/7.
24/7, no break. No, literally, even when they sleep, they don't sleep. They're completely aware, just like source is awake 24/7. They are awake 24/7, and I've seen evidences of that. And so they rest their body, but they are awake 24/7.
Okay. Okay. And then the other part of the question was the path to attaining such levels of, I would say, awareness.
So the basis of this is practicing going beyond your mind. Mind is the intellect, the thoughts, and the emotions, like the day-to-day emotions, that how we kind of get overturned a little bit up and down by that. So that's like the cumulative of mind. So going beyond the mind. So however you want to practice that, over thousands and thousands of years of their inner research, they have found meditation is the best way, and the chanting of the customized guru mantra that you get between those two things, and then of course bringing it into practice in your daily life with your fellow human beings. And so basically it is about going beyond your mind. And so everybody's path is a little bit different, how you would want to pursue. You have told me that you got into yoga postures and Kundalini awakened. So there are yogis. You are a yogi of past lifetimes. It cannot just happen like that. So it takes lifetimes and lifetimes of practice sometimes. And when that is not completed, you bring it to the next lifetime, and you keep trying each lifetime. And it's penance. So some yogis prefer, like my Guruji, he preferred very, very tough penance like that. He's a perfect yogi with every power that source has. He has that power. Those are called siddhis, that the powers that you get. And there are others who may not go that route, but the common essence of reaching that state is learning to go beyond your mind permanently, dissolving your mind-body identity into the source permanently, like becoming one with the surrendering to the source completely, 100%.
So, well, you've said a lot there, and just a couple of questions that came through. One of them was, is your mantra, is that in Sanskrit or is that in a different language?
Mine is in Sanskrit. It doesn't have to be. It can be completely nonsense sounds.
Oh,
It
okay.
just- it
It's just the
depends.
energy that's attached to it, I guess, right?
It is so interesting. It's fascinating, all the people I have talked to. Yes, so each one, even my Guruji's disciples, each one has a different, been given different set of instructions.
Okay.
And so that could, sometimes that could be like meditation, like you sit down with closed eyes, chant mantra. And for some, it could be just doing service with your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's called
Okay.
karma yoga. So he knows which one. I couldn't do that. I am not good with that. I know that. But there were many who were around him that were like that. They poured their love in their service with their physical body. And so he will tell them that.
So does it sound like yours was more meditation?
Yes, for me. But
Okay.
there was few others that I know. They were told to do some intense yoga sadhana, like yoga postures, and given a whole different set of chantings to do. But it was more yoga intensive, like yoga posture intensive.
Okay.
Whereas
Okay.
mine wasn't.
Okay. So, you mentioned, at least in my path throughout my accidental stumbling on a spiritual journey, it came about by a self-taught meditating practice out of frustration. And so for people who, actually, before I say that, what about a payment type relationship? Is that, do you think, a common practice between gurus and people who are looking up to the guru to help them on their spiritual paths?
Okay, so this is number one thing that you were asking me, what are some of the characteristics of looking for finding that true guru? A Sadguru, a completely self-realized, enlightened master, will never, ever want anything from you.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
He does not ask. If he's asking
Wait.
anything of you, it is something that's supposed to help you
Okay. All right.
with,
Yeah.
but not for himself or herself.
Okay. And then can the relationship get to a place where they actually kick you out after they've accepted to work with you?
Yes.
You said that like you were once kicked out, Ritu.
No, not me, but I've seen it. Oh my God, I shudder.
Okay.
Yes, but not, there is that love, unconditional love is always there, but that's tough love. So that being kicked out is the part of the tough love. Okay, you go, get out.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but here it is. This is part of the lesson.
Yeah.
Is many times it is to teach that your surrender, your seeking should be so intense. It should be life and death question for you, that you will come crawling, you will come begging for forgiveness, and come to show how intense your desire is for God. And so sometimes they will do that on purpose, to kick you out, to see, do you have it in you? How badly do you want that?
Okay.
What I have to give to you. But
Yeah.
it is not to purposely insult you. It is not to, it never. It is always to break your ego.
Okay. Indeed. And speaking of break the ego, I clearly am not there, and I'm trying to feel or imagine what it's like to live on planet Earth with a dissolved ego. Because, this place requires us to have an ego and to label it and define ourselves relatively to everybody else. I am Roland because I am not my sister, in a sense. And I need that benchmark of what my sister is in order to know who I am. So someone like your guru who has a fully dissolved ego, can you even begin to imagine what that's like for them to be here on planet Earth? Like, are they just seeing themselves as everything and everyone? And in that case, how do you operate? How do you differentiate an orange from an apple, per se?
Yeah, so they float between all the dimensions, and yes, they are, because by that time they have complete control, like I said, over their mind and their senses. So they know how many different versions they're operating. They know who to make themselves visible to, who to make themselves invisible to, and when to show that they have a body, when to show they don't have a body. But they understand. They will like lower their vibrations to help you connect to their physical form and be cognizant of their name, but they have no attachment. He has no attachment to his name, and that's the difference. We have attachment. We identify with our name and body, and he doesn't. He doesn't identify. And that always reminds me, like, I have never read scriptures, but from what I have heard, like Jesus would say, whenever he would say, follow me, I am this or I am that, he is talking as I, the source. Mm-hmm. He is never saying I, the man called Jesus. Mm-hmm. But he knew that I have a body and I have a name that people need to connect to. But I am only wearing that as a piece of clothing. And this is not my identity. So
absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's really deep esoteric information you just dropped there. Thank you for that. Earlier I was telling a little bit about my story and how growing up in West Africa, the whole idea of a guru is entirely foreign. At least it was foreign to me in the environment in which I was raised. And for someone like me who has journeyed through my spiritual path without a designated guru, the one thing you mentioned is what I've taken advantage of, which is the idea of sort of quieting my mind as much as I can and meditating, and then having all these experiences helping to propel me on my path, and then assimilating it by then talking to folks like you and other people. And so in a way I consider all of you my de facto guru, right? In that sense.
And you are to us. We are all learning. Yes, yeah. We are. Mm-hmm.
So really then, with everything a guru is doing for you, are they really ultimately trying to help you remember that in a sense you are your own guru?
Absolutely. So a Satguru, a enlightened master, that is his entire purpose. His purpose is not to worship him or to be his follower, just be his follower. His purpose is to connect you to your own inner guru. And he says that I am you. I am the guru that's inside you. I have just come in a physical form because you need to connect with a physical form to ask questions, and because who has seen the source? Source is formless. Who's seen God? But you've seen the guru now. So it anchors you. It gives you something. We need a form to be able to anchor when we're going through our ups and downs and learning to navigate this ocean of
experiences.
Illusion.
Yeah.
Illusion.
Illusionary experiences for sure. Oh my. Look at that, Ritu. We've been talking for about an hour. And I think you've shared a lot about, whether or not we need a guru, for one. Two, if you find one, and how those experiences might unfold for you. And thank you for sharing those fascinating stories. I hope we didn't freak people out, but I totally enjoy listening to those. And you ate the fruit. I just want to clarify. You ate the fruit.
I can bring you thousands who have eaten, who are living in flesh and body right now, because my guru left his body only in 2013. So this is not thousands of years ago. This is just
7-8 years ago.
7-8 years ago. And we still are. The ones are connected. We are still sharing our stories, how he manifests. Yes.
Good
So,
Lord.
but the ones up till 2013, there are so many. This is nothing. This is nothing what I have mentioned. The
Yeah.
miracles that we've seen.
Yeah. So, you know, the final big question ultimately then is, in your opinion, which you're going to have to look at your experience and then go beyond that, do you need a guru? And if yes, shortly, I mean, you've discussed why throughout, kind of all the positives, but if you don't have that opportunity to connect with one now, or if you say I don't need one, what would you recommend people do?
So it depends upon you. Everybody, scriptures say, my guru says, all enlightened masters say, you cannot complete your enlightenment. You can have experiences, but you cannot be in that enlightened state without being blessed by a guru that has lived in flesh and blood. Just like Jesus went to John the Baptist, right? This is the story. Even he needed to be, that was initiation that he received. So he needed a guru. And so everybody does. It depends on where you are on your journey of spiritual evolvement. The higher you go, the subtler the energies become. They become so subtle that your mind cannot comprehend them. And that's when you will yourself be yearning and seeking for guru. So if you don't have the desire now, you will be seeking guru automatically at some point. So that's inevitable. And we all need one sooner or later, this lifetime or a different lifetime. And you will know it.
Okay. And if you can't find one in the meantime, just meditate.
Meditate.
Yeah.
You will know when. I have stories for that too, before another time.
Yeah, for sure. Ritu, you're such a delight to talk to, honestly. I'm so glad that we connected. And for anyone who is still listening, you can connect with Ritu on her Facebook page. You can search Ritu LeBouef. I'll have links to that, like I said, in the notes section of this podcast. She also has a website and a blog and a YouTube channel, and you can connect with all of that on spiritualroute.com. And I'll have links to that website in the notes section of this podcast as well. Ritu, you're so fascinating. Like I said, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I can't wait to have you back. We need to dive into more of your spiritually transmittive experiences that you've had, because those are fascinating too. Yeah.
I have tons of stories. Absolute delight to be talking to you, Roland. I am blessed to have connected with you.
Thank you. Guys, you know how to connect with me, Roland at Achenjang.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Roland at Achenjang. The book Who and Why You Are is out, audiobook, paperback, and the electronic version as well. And all I can say is create an amazing day, my friends.